Chapter 3. The Linguistics of Second Language Acquisition Group to Class F.
Hello, Miss and friends. My name is Tasha Lutfiara Mananti Minta, and now I will explain about the nature of language. The nature of language has following characteristics, which are languages are systematic, languages are symbolic, and languages are social. Language are systematic consists of recurrent elements which occur in regular patterns of relationships, while languages are symbolic are sequences of sounds or letters that do not inherently possess meaning. And languages are social mean each language reflects the social requirements of the social that uses it, and there is no standard for judging whether one language is more effective for communication than another. Next, I will explain about the different levels of language that the first language learner or second language learner must acquire. They are first lexicon, morphology, phonology, syntax, non-verbal structures, and discourse. In lexicon, the first language learner and second language learner must acquire about word meaning, pronunciation, grammatical category, possible occurrence in combination with other words and idioms. In morphology, they must acquire about morphemes, inflections, prefixes, and suffixes. In phonology, there are phonemes, intonations, tones, and rhythmic patterns. In syntax, there are word order, agreement between sentence elements, ways to form question, to negate association, and to focus or structure information. In nonverbal structures, there are facial expressions, spatial orientations, and position, and then gestures and other body movement. And in the discourse, there are ways to connect sentences and to organize information, structure for telling stories, engaging in conversations, and scripts for interacting and for events.
For the time given to me, my name is Yana Perloy, and now I want to presentation about early approaches to second language acquisition. First, concentrative analysis. Concentrative analysis is an approach to study of second language acquisition which involves predicting and explaining learning problem based on the comparison of language 1 and language 2 to determine similarities and differences. The goals of concentrative analysis was primarily pedagogical in nature to increase efficiency in language 2 teaching and testing. Predict and describes the pattern that will cause difficulty in learning and those that will not cause difficulty by comparing systematically the language and culture to be learned with the native language and culture of the student. In linguistic structure, concentrative analysis focus on the surveys from language 1 and language 2 system and describe and compare the language of one level at a time. Concentrative analysis has a basic process applied language 1 and language 2. Anything unless to analysis cannot assume specifically like the definition of interference. In Spanish and English will be relevant for language with different type of features. Same from and meaning of as plural, for example, may be only possible in a very related language. First, for number, or with those who don't use the grammar maker at all, while concentrative analysis highlight potential learning problems. The relationship between language 1 and language 2, but the most important is learning situation that encourage the formation of bad habits versus good habits. There is also a new interest is positive transfer contribution of second language acquisition. Thank you.
Thank you for the time given me. My name is Loriana Ora. Now I will present about error analysis. Error analysis is the first approach to the study of second language acquisition, which includes an internal focus on learners' creative ability to construct language. It is based on the description and analysis of actual learners' error in second language rather than on idealist linguistic structures attributed to native speakers of first language and second language, as in constructive analysis. Error analysis are replaced constructive analysis because of the following developments. First, prediction made by CA did not always materialize in actual learner. Second, Structural linguistics shift to concern for underlying rules. Third, there was a shift to mentalist in explanation of language acquisition rather than on external influences. 4. Learning process became an important focus for study in their own right. The procedure for analyzing learner errors include the following steps. First, collection of a sample of learner language. Data collected from many speakers who are responding to the same kind of test. Second, identification of errors distinguishes between systematic errors and mistakes. Third, description of errors. Errors are usually classified according to language level, general linguistic category, or more specific linguistic elements. 4. Explanation of errors. Accounting for why an error was made is the most important step in trying to understand the process of second language acquisition. Error analysis continues as a useful procedure for the study of second language acquisition, but a number of shortcomings have been noted and should be kept in mind. These include: first, ambiguity in classification. Second, lack of positive data. Focus on errors alone does not necessarily provide information on what the second language learner has acquired. Third, potential for avoidance. Make the point absence of errors may result from learners' avoidance of difficult structures. And 4. Influence of second language curriculum. Although most have received little attention in research that tries to explain why some learners are more successful than others.
Okay, my name is Belandina Lomawalu. I'm from class F. Interlanguage. An interlanguage is an idiolect that has been developed by a learner of a second language, which preserves some features of their first language, and can also organize some second language writing and speaking rules. An interlanguage is idiosyncratically based on the learner experience with the second language. Thus, two characteristics of an interlanguage result in the system uniquely linguistic organization. Interlanguage is based on the theory that there is a dormant psychological framework in the human brain that is activated when one attempts to learn a second language, utterance in the target second language to convey the same message produced by a native speaker of that language. Thank you.
Okay everyone, now I will explain about morpheme order studies. Morpheme order studies come from a set of highly influential studies in the field of first and second language acquisition. These studies were based on the assumption that there exists a universal and natural order for morpheme acquisition that all learners follow regardless of their background. Next, inflection. Inflection adds one or more units of meaning to the base form of a word to give it a more specific meaning. And this is how we code for plural nouns, past tense, and progressive aspect in English. Next, this result indicates, for example, a progressive suffix, ing and plural, as are the first in this set of morphemes to master by L1 and L2 English students. Irregular past tense form of verb and possessive as are obtained next in the order for L1 but in relative terms. Later for L2 learners after the form B and A or D. Although not identical, the order of morpheme acquisition was reported similar in L1 and L2. Okay, thank you. That's all for me.
Hello Miss, my name is Putin Ramsari from class F. Now I will explain about monitor model. One of the last of the early approach to SLA which has an internal focus is the monitor model, proposed by Stephen Krashen. Krashen's approach is a collection of 5 hypotheses which constitute major claims and assumptions about how the second language code is acquired. The hypotheses forming the model are the following. The first is a question learning hypothesis. There is a distinction to be made between acquisition and learning. The second is monitor hypothesis. What is learned is available only as a monitor for purpose of editing or making change in what has already been produced. The third is natural order hypothesis. We acquire the rules of language in predictable order. The fifth is input hypothesis. Language acquisition takes place because there is comprehensible input. The fifth is affective hypothesis. Input may not be processed, the affective filter is up. Learning is taking place or individuals are inhibited. This include the first is what is being acquired in SLA, rule-governed language system. The second is how SLA takes place involves creative mental process. And the third is why some learners are or more or less successful in SLA than others relates primarily to the age of the learner. Thank you.
Hello Miss, my name is Mercury Edi. I'm from class F. Now I want to present about universal grammar. Universal grammar is the theoretical or hypothetical system of categories, operations, and principles served by our human language and considered to be innate. Research approaching second language acquisition or SLA from the language perspective often relate this issue to the availability of universal grammar to second language acquisition. Universal grammar refers to a grammar which is genetically endowed to all human beings and which all languages have in common. The theory of universal grammar proposes that if human beings are brought up under normal conditions or not those of extreme sensory deprivation, then they will always develop language with certain properties. This universal grammar theory suggests that every language has a sum of the sum laws. For example, every language has a way to ask a question for or make something negative. In addition, every language has a way to identify gender or show that something happened in the past or present.
Hello Miss and my friends, my name is Permata Salim. Now I will present about principles and parameters. Principles and parameters is postulate to be innate. Children are assumed to be able to interpret and unconsciously analyze the input they receive and construct the appropriate level 1 grammar. Next, an example of an early principles which Chomsky posited stipulate that every phrase in every language has the same elements include a head. There are 3 points. First, a noun first must always have a noun head. Second, a verb phrase must always have a verb head. Third, a prepositional or postpositional phrase must always have a preposition or postposition head, and so forth. Next, there are only 2 possible choices. First, head initial, or second, head final. Next, children who are learning English level 1 receive input that lets them know that English generally has a head initial parameter setting. This is because they hear sentences with the following words order. There are 2 points. First, John kicked the ball. Second, John rode in the car. John kicked the ball. verb phrase. I have put bracket around the verb phrase in this example and underlined the head of that phrase, which is the verb kicked. Second, John rode in the car. Brackets are around the prepositional phrase in this example and its head is the preposition in. Next, in contrast, children who are learning Japanese level 1 receive input that lets them know that Japan has a head final parameter settings. They hear sentences with the following word order. There are 2 points. First, John wa boru wo keta, literary John bal kike. Second, John wa kurumani, nota literary John car in the road. John wa boru wo keta. This provided evidence that the Japan's parameter setting is head final because the verb ketaki comes after boru wo bal in the verb phrase. Second, John wa kurumani. This provides additional evidence that Japan's is head final because the preposition ni in comes after kuruma car in the prepositional first. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I am Octavia Mitajaya from Group 2, Class F. Now I want to explain about there are 3 of particular in the study of SLA from a universal grammar perspective. First one is initial state. Initial state is variously used to mean of unconscious linguistic knowledge. 2. Nature and development of interlanguage is defined in the principles and parameters perspective as intermediate state of development. Point 3. Final state. In equation since all children achieve a native final state. From here, I want to explain next about linguistic interface. Attention to linguistic interface greatly enhances the importance across different types of meaning, lexical, grammatical, and semantic and discourse. That's all for me and thank you.
Okay, my name is Willem Spanga. Functional approach. Characteristic functional approach. The first focus is on the use of language in real situation or performance. The second study of SLA begins with the assumption that the purpose of the language is communication. The third scope of the concept goes beyond the sentence to include discourse structure and how language is used in interaction and to including aspects of communication. And now system linguistics. System linguistics has been developed by M.I.K. Halliday begins the late 1915. This is a model analysis language in terms of the interlinked system of choice that are involved for expressing meaning. Basic to the approach is the notion untamility derived from the anthropologist
Hello everyone, my name is Melvian Stakanjanji. I will explain about functional typology. Typology in linguistics is the study and classification of language according to its structural characteristic. Functional typology of contrastive analysis in comparing elements of different languages to predict or explain transfer from first language to second language, which consists of qualitative typology, which examines the problem of language comparisons and variation in language. Quantitative typology, which examines the distributions of structural patterns on the world language. The theoretical typology that describe the distributions. Market is the relations between linguistic elements where one element is more characteristic than other assigned. Market is each word that is changed to take a new meaning, whereas unmarked is a normal word that is not changed.
Okay, my name is Miss Dawati Putri. I'm from class F, and then now I will continue what my friend said. This time I discuss about mapping superior functional position. So, mapping superior functional position is a civil servant who is given the full task, authority, responsibility, and rights by the official who is authorized to carry out survey and mapping activities. I think that's all for me, and thank you.
Hello, Miss and friends. I'm Yeli Francisca Snae, and I will explain about information organization. Information organization refers to a functional approach which focuses on uterine structure. The number of first language and second language in the study is important because it allows the researcher to make generalization about the nature of interlanguage, which would not be possible if all the participants were speakers of the same first language or if all were learning the same second language. In information organization consists of development levels and organizing principles. In development levels, all of the learners in the study, no matter what their first language and second language, go through a remarkably similar sequence of development in their interlanguage. The examples are: first, nominal uterine organization. Learners generally begin with the seemingly unconnected naming of subjects and objects. Second, infinite uterine organization. Learners increasingly add verbs to in their uterines, but they seldom use grammatical morphemes to convey the meaning of tense, person, or number. And the third, finite uterine organization. Learners who continue interlanguage development beyond the level next add grammatical morpheme to the verb. Next, organizing principle. In organizing principle, there is a limited set of principles which learners make use of for organizing information. They may be classified as follows. First, phrasal constraint or restriction on the phrasal patterns which may be used. Once the verb has emerged, for example, a basic pattern is noun phrasal phrase plus verb with a second noun phrase after the verb possible. Second, semantic constraint or feature of categories like noun phrase which determine their position in a sentence and what case role they are assigned. And the third, pragmatic constraint, it including restriction that relate to what has been said previously or to what a speaker assumes that the hearer already knows. According to Klein and Perdue, some second learners are more successful than others because of they have communicative needs, cross-linguistic influence, extrinsic factor, and the last is limits on processing.